Ahead of the decisive round in Asia, the Malaysian MotoGP at the Sepang International Circuit, the Ducati Lenovo factory team is faced with an existential dilemma and an unexpected performance crisis, which threatens their position as the dominant team in the Premier class. After a humiliating week at the Australian GP, the Borgo Panigale team is now moving quickly to design an emergency operation to overcome a series of poor results triggered by the inconsistency of its main rider, Francesco Pecco Bagnaia, and the failure of test rider Michele Pirro to deliver adequate performance. The situation is exacerbated by the absence of world champion Marc Marquez, which leaves a huge void, forcing Ducati to quickly find a rider combination capable of restoring the team's prestige at the legendary Sepang track. The first major blow came with the official confirmation that Marc Marquez, fresh from securing the world title, would have to end his season early. Crashed at net, and official Ducati media reported that the complex shoulder injury sustained by Marquez in a brutal crash at the Mandalika GP would require a full recovery that would take until the end of the year, ruling him out of the remaining 2025 races, including Malaysia, Portugal, and Valencia. The departure of the Golden Boy not only eliminated the potential for victory in the final 3 races, but also severed a crucial data link with the rider who had adapted most quickly to the Desmisedicai GP25. Ducati's next concern is Francesco Bagnaia, who has shown the most drastic performance inconsistency of his MotoGP career. After impressing with a double win in Japan, Bagnaia plummeted to the bottom in Australia. The Italian rider openly expressed his frustration to the press, calling his 19th place finish in the sprint race embarrassing and inexplicable, as he lost an average of 2 seconds per lap and felt the bike had suddenly become foreign and unresponsive. The climax of Pecco's downturn came in the main race at Phillip Island, which ended with a crash and a DNF did not finish, as he struggled outside the top 10, marking his second consecutive failure to finish after the Mandalika GP. Pecco admitted that he was struggling at the limit just to maintain his position, a stark contrast to his dominance earlier in the season. This poor result had a direct impact on the title race for runner-up in the final standings, where he has now dropped down the order and sparked widespread speculation in the paddock about whether the problem lay with the new Desmisedicai GP25, the Michelin tires, or inconsistent electronic setup. To fill Marc Marquez's void at the Australian and Malaysian GPs, Ducati appointed their senior test rider, Michele Pirro. However, Pirro's performance in Australia failed to completely quell the crisis, finishing last in the sprint race and only managing to reach 18th in the main race. Far from the points, demonstrated how difficult it is for non-regular riders to immediately adapt to the Desmisedicai GP25 in highly competitive racing conditions. Pirro's limitations, despite his being a reliable test rider, implicitly demanded that Ducati find a replacement rider with a higher pace for the final 2 rounds. Amidst this chaos, the name of Nicolo Bulega, the 2025 World SBK runner-up with the Aruba.it Racing Ducati team, emerged as the most logical and potential solution. Bulega is not only a fast rider, but also serves as a dual test rider for Ducati in the development of Pirelli's future MotoGP tires, making him very familiar with the Borgo Panigale factory's philosophy. Ducati management, led by GiGi Dall'igna, is now seriously considering fast-tracking the Premier Class debut to restore the factory team's image. Although Michele Pirro will still race in the Malaysian MotoGP, Ducati's strategic decisions now focus on how to most effectively utilize Bulega's potential in the next 2 European rounds. Pirro's uncompetitive performance in Australia has shown that regular test riders are not enough to handle the pressure, so Ducati needs an ambitious and quick injection of fresh blood. The goal is to obtain valid race pace data and test the bike's limits under real-world conditions, something that is difficult for riders who only test the bike periodically. In a concrete and crucial step, Ducati has publicly confirmed to the media that it will soon hold a special MotoGP test for Nicolo Bulega at the Jerez circuit in Spain, following the conclusion of his World SBK season. This test is designed not only to reward him, but also to serve as intensive technical preparation. Bulega's experience in World SBK gives him an advantage in managing the Ducati's electronics, and this test will allow him to understand the characteristics of the Michelin tires and maximize the potential of the Desmas Cetisai GP25 before he potentially replaces Marc Marquez at the Portuguese and Valencia GPs. Ducati's swift move to launch Bulega demonstrates the severity of the crisis they are facing. With Pecco Bagnaia struggling for consistency, Bulega is expected to be a positive catalyst, forcing the engineers and crew to look at the bike's problems from a completely new perspective, without the bias of the feeling issues currently plaguing Bagnaia. If Bulega can surprise in testing or even in his first race, it would be a major morale booster for the struggling factory team.